Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, folks. It is Super Tuesday. It is Super Tuesday, and you know what that means? It means this is the time that we have the opportunity to take back the country, to take back the party, to take back everything. Anyway, folks, guess who's in the studio with me today? El Senor Nabu. How are you doing, my brother Nabu?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing? You ready for Super Tuesday?
I am. Look, man, I already executed my Super Tuesday on Friday so that I could really spend time on Super Tuesday, Super Tuesday in. What do you think about that?
Hey, I'm excited to see what happens tonight.
You know what? It's gonna be. I think a lot of us are gonna leave with smiles tonight. But what I want to do is prepare folks just in case the things, remind folks that, you know, what time is it, Nabu? It's just 3:02:26. 3 o'clock, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, which means, hello, Rose Williams, and as well, Michael Rudnin. Michael Rudnin has the great statement out already. He said, vote in numbers too big to manipulate. Senor Rudnin is very, very right. You know, I mean, manipulation can only work for 1%, 2%, 3%. If we overwhelm manipulation again doesn't really matter. Title of the show today: Progressives make Super Tuesday super by voting in massive numbers. I guess Rudnin must have seen kind of what we're going to talk about. Subtitle of the show: The mainstream media are trying to will the status quo by building up centrists whose modus operandi is a failure. Progressives can shut it down by voting in massive numbers. And you know what's funny? When I say progressives, a lot of people think you are dividing progressives and centrists. No, sir. No, ma'am. No brothers. No sisters. The reality is I had a discussion with a good friend. She thought I was mad at her because just maybe she thought I thought she was a centrist because sometimes she self-defines as moderate. You know what, folks? They put these labels on us so that they can direct us to vote to a particular side of the aisle. And guess what? Yes, Deborah Ann Borgen, I am sad that Beto endorsed the status quo as well. But you know what? That is not important right now. What is important is that in Central Time Zone, it is 3:05. It means, brothers and sisters, you have 3 hours. Wait, let me see. Let me do my math right. You've got 3 hours and 55 minutes to go out there and make a difference in Central Time. In California time, those of you that are listening in California, you have another 5 hours and 54 minutes to vote. Progressives, go do your job. And by progressives, I don't mean all those folks that just like to say, yeah, we're lefties. Most Americans, based on their values, I promise you, even though some have identified you as centrist, you are not. I bet you and I have so much in common. I bet you and I want so many of those same things. Don't play the plutocrats game, because what they're doing is directing traffic. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. Anyhow, as the centrists started to coalesce around Biden, many progressives started contacting me with unwarranted fear. Let's be clear. Centrists coalescing around Joe Biden is likely a good thing. A debate stage where Biden has to do a lot of talking and defending the status quo will not be a gaffe-free zone. We know he has a proclivity for gaffes, but the status quo in itself is a gaffe. And I am sure if they want it to be a two-person race, I'm sure Bernie Sanders is ready to tell him that story. And if they make it a three-person race, as I think it really should be, as well, Elizabeth Warren will be happy in a lot of ways with a few more technicalities than Brother Bernie to put him in the place where he deserves to be. Because brothers and sisters, whether you think you are a centrist, the centrist policies are there just as a stopgap measure to ensure continued corporate control. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Given that the policies he supports are anathema to the middle class when examined, pressing him consistently in debates should be like shooting fish in a barrel. So progressives, let's ensure our progressive candidates are funded. Most importantly, get to hell out and vote and ensure those in your sphere are voting as well. Don't forget, people, you have power. Progressives must vote. That means all Americans must vote. The vast majority of you, even though the media would want to call you a moderate, they may want to call you a centrist. Most Americans that I break bread with, whether they are Trump supporters, whether they are Sanders supporters, whether they are Warren supporters, and even Biden supporters, when I ask them questions, guess where they end up being? They are progressives. And the reason why is we all want to move forward. We all want things to be better. Status quo does not do that. So anybody voting for the status quo, well, we'll talk about that later. But anyhow, before I get with the program, I want to remind all our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices. And as a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honig.
And that is at Mondays at
3 to 4.
There you go. We have Open Journal with El Señor
Dwayne Bradley and the crew.
And that is on Mondays at
6, right?
Yes, 6 p.m. And of course, before this show, an hour before the show, we have Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz at its very best, hosted by the one and only
Juan Flores and Lupita.
Yeah. Then, of course, let me tell you, that other voice that you're hearing there, it goes with this show called, this kind of a cool show. You know, the other day a guy was telling me, Egberto, after your show, there's this kind of cool show that comes on that plays some kind of music I don't understand, but man, it keeps me hopping. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's my buddy. That is the one and only Naboo and crew. Jenner Asian Radio, a weekly radio program featuring an eclectic mix of Asian underground Bagra, Bollywood funk, Hindi, Rai, where ancient sounds meet future beats. And that is when Senor Naboo.
Right after the show, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
And then stay tuned after that.
Yes.
Because we have our special Super Tuesday coverage.
Absolutely, folks. And it's going to be great. Check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station. So please, por favor, please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by whom, senor?
The corporatocracy.
Look, brothers and sisters, we got to stick together. You know, when you have people doing this kind of work, when you have Naboo not only doing the musical side, but doing the political side. And hey, guys, let me tell you something, okay? We are the only champions in this part of Texas that's out there telling you the truth. I'm telling you. And, you know, I am a truth teller. And yes, a lot of folks in the mainstream media, a lot of them would like to do it. But in these times, they can't. That's why we are here. What are your thoughts? Let's talk. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Folks, please go ahead. Follow me on Twitter, Egberto Willies. And go ahead and follow on YouTube, Egberto Willies as well, the YouTube channel. Anyhow, folks, let's get started. I don't have a blog of the week today. And you know why I don't have a blog of the week? I was talking to Daniel, the president of Indivisible Houston, before I came in here. And I said, Daniel, if you want to come in and say a few words, because we're all on the same platform now, a lot of people are concerned, and we have to be here to start giving people hope. We have to be here to start telling folks, empowering people, letting them know that you have the power to make change, and it starts now. So if you're listening to my voice right now and you didn't early vote and you haven't voted yet, and you know what you want, and you know what we need as what the country needs, if you know the progressive direction the country needs, it is time. Don't waste your vote. Go out there, brothers and sisters, and vote ahora. Vote now. Si no han votado mis latinos, mis hermanos de Houston por todos lados, el metro de Houston, por favor, la hora es ahora. Tenemos que ir a votar ahora. Mira, I was out there in Nevada last week. Estuve en Nevada el año pasado. La semana pasada. Y te voy a decir algo. If you see that number, 53% of the Latino vote in Nevada went to one particular candidate, in this case, Bernie Sanders, I can understand why. I was outside of the Latino areas, in different markets, etc. And I can tell you something, the fire was there. People said, Egberto, is it a change? Dr. Eddie Glaude on MSNBC came on and he said, hey, guess what? Do you remember that time bomb that we were waiting for, the Latino time bomb? It has exploded. After I wrote up that blog on Eddie Glaude, I said, you know what? Before we jump ahead and say the Latino time bomb has exploded, let's wait for Texas. Let's wait for California. I'm going to be on air at 9 o'clock nationally here at KPFT, the whole Pacifica Network, and we're going to be talking a hell of a lot about that, brothers and sisters. Anyhow, before I get into my monologue, somebody's been holding on the line for quite a while, so let me go ahead and get that person. Line number 1, come on in.
Hello?
Yes, you're on.
Yeah, I'm Scott.
Scott,
Yes.
Talk to me.
I am waiting to see whether Sheila Jackson-Lee wins without runoff tonight.
That is going to be hard, I think, because, it's going to be interesting to see if she's able to make it, but I think depending on the vote, if the vote is a very, very, very progressive vote out there, she may get into a runoff. But I don't think her seat is ever in jeopardy at this point.
Yeah, she has 6 opponents, but I've talked to some of them. I don't think their stands are too much different than hers. I've asked them about impeachment, and they said, of course.
Right.
And asked them about H.R. 1384, and I had to explain that is Medicare for all.
Right.
They didn't know it by the bill number. Congressional aides do. They've often insisted, what is the bill number? She is a co-sponsor of 1384.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
She's generally pleased with me about her voting record, and she stood up for this First Amendment in one vote, which I thought was courageous.
Right.
She probably has disappointed me on some things. Last night I saw her speak, sort of a surprise appearance at Oak Forest area Democrats. She said she was undecided about the presidential race. And
that's she had to take that stance.
She's not going public on it.
Well, it surprised me that, we have somebody in here, I think it was Deborah inside of the chat room here that said she was very disappointed in Beto. I think Beto hurt his brand immensely by coming out and by jumping into the presidential race. I think he should have let Texans decide that.
I wish he had run for Senate.
Right. I think a lot of people wish he had done that. But what he has done is, as opposed to aligned himself with saying, I am the candidate of change, he aligned himself with the candidate of the status quo. And I think for all the young people that really were excited about him, that is going to change the calculus for many of them. And I don't know now if he will be the person that will successfully become the governor that he was likely hoping to be with the grassroots movement he's attempting to build. Because again, by coming out for a status quo candidate or coming out at all, what he has done is made himself a part of the problem as opposed to saying, let me be the solution.
Do you suppose I was excited when I was a young person?
Mm-hmm.
No. Well, I was excited about Barry Goldwater for a while, and less excited about him by the time October came around, but I voted for him.
Right.
And about 3 years later, I became very excited against Richard Nixon because I had joined the ACLU, and I didn't like his promise to appoint strict constructionists.
Right.
And I ran into people in '68 who had problems voting for Humphrey, and I had no problem voting against Nixon.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I may not have been a typical young voter.
Well, you know what? We have a lot of typical non-young voters now, so that's okay. But Scott, I gotta go because I need to get into my narrative. So thank you so kindly for calling, and you keep voting and you keep the power, okay, brother?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, folks, telephone number 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I'll be taking calls after my soliloquy, but before I go to that, I want to kind of mention something. We have Lawrence Sims. But first of all, let me welcome all of those that are online. Welcome aboard Michael Rudnin, Lee Grant, Lawrence Sims, Damon Ross from Periscope, a few from YouTube, Deborah, Ann Borgen. Thank you so kindly. Rose Williams, thank you so kindly for being here. And of course, our Kathleen Morin Morgan from Scituate, Massachusetts. Online we have a whole lot of folks from all over the country. So, if you guys have any reports that you want to tell us about what's happening in your part of the world, let me know so that we can tell the rest of the country what's going on. Anyhow, I have an issue. I have a very important issue to talk about. Yesterday, Joe Biden went on MSNBC, was interviewed by Lawrence O'Donnell. Lawrence O'Donnell did an extensive interview with him, and I did an extensive Politics Done Right Extra last night, a 40-minute Politics Done Right Extra last night on YouTube and Periscope and Facebook Live. But I want to bring it here on air because it is rather important. Joe Biden went on national TV. There are a lot of people that are voting for Democrats right now in the Democratic primary. And the media has convinced you. The media has convinced many that it's a two-person race. Hello, Elizabeth, somebody with a mind is still in the race. Hello. It is okay that the establishment through Buttigieg and Klobuchar thought they had to coalesce around their master. That's fine. But we still have people in the race, and for the media to give the impression to voters who, for the first time when they hear, oh, it's a two-man race, a lot of them are going to believe that somehow that's been ordained and that's how they're going to behave, as it's a two-man's race. No, it's not. There's Bernie, there's Elizabeth, there's Bloomberg, and there's Biden. There are a lot of people that we need to know where people's minds are. But anyhow, Joe Biden goes on and gets interviewed by El Señor Lawrence O'Donnell. And I felt sorry for Lawrence because I know how Lawrence O'Donnell thinks. Lawrence O'Donnell puts himself on the line every single day that he does his show, and he shows that he takes no BS. But it was quite interesting to watch Lawrence O'Donnell hold his tongue as he interviewed Joe Biden, which just shows the control the media have in creating a particular narrative. But Lawrence O'Donnell tried to bite a little bit. He first goes ahead, and when he starts talking about Medicare for all, he starts to go ahead and say, hey, talking about the difference between Bernie's bill and what he wanted to do. And he allowed Mr. Biden to use his talking points for quite some time. And Mr. Biden was indistinguishable. Again, Mr. Biden was indistinguishable from what you hear of Republican talking points on health care. There was no distinguishing between what he is asking for and even what Donald Trump is asking for. It's a mirage. This great public option that they want to talk about. And so in the process, he's talking about the amount of trillions of dollars that the project that Medicare for All, as implemented by either Sanders or Warren, would take on our budget. And I could hear the questions that Lawrence O'Donnell wanted to ask him because, it's going to take all these trillions in Medicare for all. My question to that was next coming up is, let me ask you, Mr. Vice President, telephone's ringing, should we allow them to die? Are we to say that because we do not want to tax billionaires, multi-millionaires for the monies that they've earned? No. Let me correct that. For the money that they've made on the backs of others, we don't want to tax the free money that they've made to take care of an entire country. So to save that few, we let some die. Is that what you want to say, Mr. President? I could see Lawrence O'Donnell asking that question. I could see that question being asked. But it wasn't, because he couldn't. And why couldn't he? Let me get to the phone before I finish this narrative. Go ahead at line number 1. Say hello. You're on. Line number 1.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Steve, talk to me.
Yeah. I was listening to your show, and I'm just kind of concerned that, the whole voting for change doesn't seem like a solid strategy. What if the change is worse?
Explain.
What if the change is a bad change?
Explain.
Well, for instance, socialism, we're in a socialist country already, sliding to communism.
Okay.
We all have social security numbers. Okay. We all have social insurance. This is a socialist country partially already. I'm more interested in seeing a country that goes back to following the Constitution, that made this country what it is, made us the beacon of light of the whole world where everyone wants to come, is because each man and woman had individual rights.
Right.
And now, so I'm not rich. I live paycheck to paycheck, okay?
Yes.
But in my mind,
yes,
just because some guys got more money than me, that a group of us can get together and vote to say, okay, we're going to make him pay more than us.
I love that you said that now. And thank you for that narrative, because I think that is important. And what you told me, right, Steve, right?
Yes, sir.
Steve, your narrative is a narrative that we learned in school. The last 2 years of my high school education in Panama, I'm a Latin American. And in Panama, I learned American history and everything there was to learn about America in my latter 2 years of high school. The interesting thing about it is, as a Panamanian in America, or a Panamanian in Panama, I learned a whole lot about America, more so than most Americans know about their own country. So what you are talking about is really the narrative you've learned. So I could never possibly be upset at you for the narrative that you've just stated that is mostly false. Okay? And because that's what you've learned. You've learned this great thing about America, that we are this bastion in the world, that this bastion of dignity and all these things, right?
I learned. I know that people want to come to this country.
No, let me finish. Come on, my friend. I gave you the whole thing to make your problem. Yeah, so
I apologize.
Not a problem at all. Not a problem. Okay, so here's the deal. Let me tell my spiel, and then you can come back on this.
Okay.
Sir. So here's the deal. First of all, for somebody like myself and many others, for women, for the vast majority of Americans, they've learned these things about America, but they've never lived it. And the reason they've never lived it is because it was never true. Okay? Women never had the liberties to do the things that they wanted to do. And that's why Elizabeth Warren is having such a hard time, even though she's one of the most competent people running in the election, because of the nature of the patriarchy that we live in. Black people were brought to this country. Indians were massacred. I mean, we don't have a very good start of history, and we try to tell ourselves things. The reason the rest of the world the rest of the world can't. And let me first tell you, I'm here in this country because I love what this country has become, what was becoming, not has become, what this country was becoming. The great thing those fathers of the Constitution did is they gave it an elastic clause. The great thing those fathers of the Constitution did is they made a living document. And in that living document,
they did not.
Yes,
I disagree.
I know you disagree, but let me finish, and then you can
There's
tell me.
no elasticity in it.
I understand where you're coming from, but I'll tell you where the elasticity comes. Okay, so play with me for a second here. It was able to change, and that change in that Constitution made this country grow and made this country a better country than how it started. Now that said, the fallacy that you have, that you can look at me and tell me, you are somebody living paycheck to paycheck. What do you do for a living, my friend?
I have a knife sharpening service.
Excellent. You have a knife sharpening service. Do you have health care?
I do through the military.
Say that again?
I was in the military.
Oh, okay. So you're a
I have
special
it there.
situation. So we are paying taxes to give you very good health care. So so taxation is not all that bad after all. But here's the deal, Steve.
Well, do you realize though the income tax?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, do we live in a democracy or do we live in a republic?
We live in a republic, a democratic republic. Yes.
So every time you hear democracy, what is that?
Democracy says the will of the people. But let me.
No, wrong. The democracy is the corporation, United States Incorporated.
Well,
it's at 28 USC 3002 15A.
Look,
that's the corporation. There's a corporation, it's a democracy, and then there's a republic.
Look,
there's two forms of government in this country.
Look,
and the democracy, and I can prove it to you.
Actually,
in
you
the
don't
Constitution, it says you're supposed to use gold and silver as money. What do we get? Have you ever used gold and silver as money?
No, but it's actually, but you know, but here's, sir, let me stop you there and tell you one thing, okay? Not because certain parts of the Constitution were rather stupid, mean that we kept it. When I talk to you about us having an elastic clause, that is just what I mean. I am no longer 3/5 of a person. Women can now vote. All those things were done because the Constitution had a provision for amendments, which made it
where in the Constitution does it say you're 3/5 of a man?
Well, that was earlier. That was overturned. Okay,
it doesn't say that.
Well, if my vote is only worth if when you're counting me, you're only counting me as 3/5 of a person. Yes, I'm 3/5 of a man. So, I mean, that's all.
Yeah, that's the corporation that says that. It's not the Constitution.
You know what? Let me tell you one thing, Steve. I love engaging with you, and we are going to continue to engage at another time. And by the way, this show, we do it daily. So you can call into to my other show a lot, and I can devote more time to you. But since I have a lot of folks on the line, I want to talk to other folks as well. But I enjoy talking to you. I want to leave you with one thing, however, okay? You, as somebody who sharpens blades and living paycheck to paycheck, your worth to society is much more than your paycheck to paycheck living. And wanting more is not the envy of those who have more. Do remember that the economic system of this country is man-made, not man and woman made.
My wife has always made more money than me.
That's fine.
Since I met her for 20-something years.
I know, that's good. I love that. I love that. But hold on, Steve. Let me finish. And then I got to let you go. But let me finish making a point. But here's the deal. You deserve a lot more based on what society is, okay? Society and the economics is man-made. We can change it to make it a more equitable society based on what you're worth. So thank you so kindly, Steve. We'll talk another time, okay?
All righty.
Take care, buddy. All right, let's go. Line 2, say hello. I don't know which one it is because our lines are down. So, okay, that's James. Talk to me, brother James.
Yes, thanks for taking my call. Listen, two questions.
Yes, sir.
Why are you disappointed in the choice that Beto made to that he made or the announcement that he made?
Why am I disappointed?
Yeah, because to me he maybe he made a choice just like you are making your choice for the better of
I get it.
For the overall good.
And you know what?
Why label him not being consistent with the progressive movement?
Okay, let me put it this way. First of all, Mr. Biden is not a progressive. by definition, Biden is not a progressive. If you support a healthcare system based on the private sector dictating policy, that is not a progressive stance. I try to explain that best I could in the thing that I did last night at my website, that you could check it out. But Biden is no different than a moderate Republican in what he's putting out there. And the thing about it is, here's the problem that we have with this. You know, they use the talking point, 146 million people are going to be thrown off of their health care. That is crap. 146 million people are enslaved. In other words, anybody who has private health care, including myself, we're slaves. How are we slaves? Okay. The system has asked us to choose which slave master we want. Do you want Aetna? Do you want Blue Shields and Blue Cross? Which one do you want? But after you've chosen your slave master, they tell you which hospital you can go to. They tell you whether you're in or out of network. They tell you what medicines you can take, and they tell you what doctor you can go to. You are a slave. Now, in Medicare for All, because we are all in one risk pool, not people subdividing risk so that a few fat cats who own shares in these insurance companies can make money. Because Medicare for All doesn't have that, it has none of that overhead. Number one, it can insure everybody. It's a progressive act that can insure everybody. And in doing so, your doctor determine your medicine. Your doctor determine your hospital. You and your doctor sit down and discuss these things. You're no longer a slave to the corporate system. You and I right now are slaves. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Now, my point was, that's the problem. It's not what Biden say or anybody say. Mm-hmm. It's what they do when they're in.
Exactly.
And we're supposed to determine that. They can put all kind of labels. That's the problem with American politics now.
Mm-hmm.
Our thinking on how America is, we have to control, but we're trying to control over the politics. I don't care what label they have.
Right.
And my other question is, why do Democrats, why do progressives allow Republicans to slap a label on it, and we have to spend all our energy trying to disown the label?
You are such a smart person. Sir, you are such a smart person.
When Bernie Sanders began to run, nobody was talking about calling him a socialist or whatever, but the Republicans slapped that name out there, and here we go, trying to defend that. That's ridiculous. Just like they slapped the label on us that we anti-life.
I love that.
They're doing that to us.
I love that.
Accepted it.
And you know something?
It's not them, it's us.
Let me tell you, what's your name again, sir? I forgot. I'm kind of...
James.
Yeah, let me tell you something, okay? Everything that you just said is correct, right? But here's the thing. One of the issues that we have is that remember what I said, not the people that think they're moderate, not the people that think they're centrist, the actual centrists within the party establishment. They are, in fact, just holding the left rail of the corporatocracy. In effect, they are Republicans. And that's what I try to explain to people. And what happened is they capture the words. When I talked about Biden and the interview, I wish you could do the 40 minutes that I spoke about on my website. And the reason why is this. Biden, if I took the name Biden off and just slapped the name any Republican person running for president, he would have fit the bill last night. And what I'm saying is the reason I am disappointed in Beto is Beto was building a new coalition in Texas, a successful coalition in Texas, of everybody noting the policies that they want. In fact, Beto didn't even allow the use, when I interviewed Beto, he didn't even use the word Medicare for all. But when we were aside, he said, but you know what I want is to make sure that goes through. He wasn't going to call it Medicare for all, but the concept was the same. But Biden has already maligned the thing. When Biden says 146 million Americans will be thrown off of the health insurance that they want, that they care for, they don't want it. They don't care for it. They're slaves to it. But he accepted it and he made it so. And what I'm saying is there are a lot of Americans right now that are scared for choices, right? They're thinking that they're believing what the media is telling them. Only he can win. only he can beat Trump. He's not going to beat Trump, number one, based on what I think of his cognitive skills at this point in time, because it leaves a lot to be desired at this point in time.
Well, if we depend on if Biden can't beat Trump, that means the American people don't want to beat Trump.
I agree with you.
If we want to keep putting it on a couple of men back on something that we own, man, you can take my name off of all this stuff.
Well, no, let me tell you what we want to do, sir. Let me tell you what we want to do. We want you to do exactly what you're doing here. Engage and talking your point, because that's very, very important. And I think some of the words that you just said here probably going to get a whole lot of people to go out there. Folks in Texas, you still have 3 hours and 25 minutes to go vote. So if you're in California, you still have 5 hours and change to go vote. So go do it. Go vote.
I'd vote for you.
And you know what, brother, I love you too.
It's about getting Trump out.
Yes, brother.
I can't take him out with our
brother, I love you. I got to go. Brother, I got to go. I got to go. You have a good one, sir. Bye-bye. All right, line 3. Come on in. Just say hi and we'll know it's you.
Yes, I vote for you too, Alberto. This is Emily.
Emily, talk to me.
Yes, I support, one of the reasons I support the cooperative approach is you can keep your Medicare. They actually have, the co-op in Houston actually has set up where they can be the provider for Medicaid and Medicare, and they set it up where they could offer better benefits for less to make sure that they can maximize the best of that program. And they also offer where you can have the other options as well. So I think the number one thing to stop the panicking where people start to label someone a socialist and want to vote you out of office is say, hey, you can have your cake and eat it too. The Democrats have, 40 million members nationwide at least, and there's got to be more because a lot of people may have a mixed status, and people don't know whether to count people of mixed status. So anyway, that's enough to set up a system for all the Democratic members who want health care for all.
Emily, let me tell you something.
We have enough numbers alone.
Emily,
what I suggest is if we're going to, your argument was, hey, we can't let people die in the meantime. But that's what the pro-life people say when they try to set up their way of saving all those lives. And I say that's not the only way to do it. You can save lives without some of your measures that are more restrictive than they need to be. So I'm saying until we agree, can the first step be, hey, let's get the pro-life, you set up your own cooperatives through the Republican Party, and that doesn't have to interfere with people who want Medicare for all and these other things. We can do that. We have enough numbers as Democrats. We can do that if we get our candidates to put like even 10% of their campaign budget into healthcare. We can have it for our members. We can go ahead and start that.
Emily.
KPFT is proof that you can run a cooperative. You can run it yourself and keep control. And that's what we need. We need Pacifica is the model for how we can have members get health care and manage it. We can actually do a better job right now
Emily,
if we work with that.
Thank you so kindly for your thoughts. Cooperatives I love. Take care, Emily.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Line number 4. Come on in.
Hello?
Yes, you're on. Who's this?
Oh, hi. This is Dwayne. How's it going, Alberto?
All right. Talk to me, Dwayne.
Hey, I just wanted to reiterate on a few things that you were speaking with Steve, the other caller.
Yes, sir.
I would like to say, like as far as education in the United States here, we've all been taught one narrative about how this society had been created. Mm-hmm. And I hate to just say this, it's straight out a lie. One thing I will agree with Steve is this is borderline socialism. As a matter of fact, it is.
For corporations, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just a few things that are just so wrong with our politics setup. First of all, I don't even agree with having a Republican Party and a Democratic Party. I think those are set up just as blinders to guide this crowd this way, guide that crowd that way. Why not just have a mass of guys who represent the public and they vote on issues instead of all of this facade about this way and that way? You have a simple vote and what have you. But as far as politics and all, I hadn't had too much faith in it in the last 3 votes.
Let me tell you something, though, Dwayne. That a lot of that is by design. They want us to be. They want us to be frustrated, so that we just throw our hands up in the air. One of the reasons I decided to make this my cause celeb now. I am now a full-time activist, full-time doing media, all that sort of stuff now, is to try to tell folks, let's go ahead and empower ourselves and let's not fall for the trap. Now, you made a very important point, and it's something that I've spoken about many, many times, and that is what I call the left rail and the right rail. And what happens is we have the Democratic Party, the Democratic establishment, not party, the Democratic establishment holding down the left rail, and we have the Republican establishment holding down the right rail. But the established...
We use that word wrong, party. It is
exactly.
establishment.
Now, the establishment is the train or the tracks. And notice something about tracks, whether you have the left track or the right track, they're all going in the same direction. They've been going in the same direction to screw us all. So what I'm saying is, when we have a candidate, a maverick candidate that comes in and says, I am going to make a change so that we derail that train from going in that direction to the right. Everybody, first of all, they get scared of the derailment. Are people going to get hurt as we derail? And you say,
can I say this?
Yes, sir.
I hate to interrupt you. This is a total agreement, and that's exactly where I was going with your directions.
I heard that in you. I heard that.
They're afraid of Bernie Sanders because why? He's going to disrupt all the money piles. He's going to disrupt all pharmaceutical companies buying our elected officials.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be we the people. No, it's we the corporation.
But let me just say, Dwayne, I want to add something to that, right? But the reason I tell all progressives, get out there. You have in Texas, you have another 3 hours and 19 minutes to do it. The reason I tell them to go out there, importantly, sir, is because no presidential candidate elected or even progressive can do it by themselves. They must have a posse and they must have a movement because yes, sir.
But we've been programmed. I mean, like that guy, like from school, elementary school, we've been programmed so deeply.
Yes.
And by the time that we're adults, we figure this is the way it has to go. Everyone's afraid of change.
Yes.
I had a discussion on Facebook the other day with a friend, and when I made the comment that this is already a socialist country.
Right.
And people really don't open their eyes and believe that we are not totally free. I mean,
exactly.
It boils down to the government has to have some type of control over the United States. But the great problem is the big lie that they're telling us all, and we're both parties headed the same direction.
Exactly.
With no end change, no results.
Hey, Dwayne, my lines are completely full.
Is embarking on something new for American citizens. It doesn't have to just be Bernie's way. There's,
exactly.
Like you said, there's other guys involved. And with change,
gotta go.
It does not work.
Dwayne, thank you so kindly for your call. You are inspirational. I appreciate your words. Please keep listening. Please keep calling. And you know what else, sir? You please share your word. Thank you, sir. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Okay, let's go. Line 5. Come on in.
Hello, Egberto. How are you doing?
I am doing fine. Who am I lucky to speak to at this point?
This is Brad, the conservative.
Hey, my brother Brad. Talk to me, sir.
Well, since I do not like Donald Trump, I actually voted in the Democratic primary, and I voted for Bernie.
Okay, let me stop you right there, Brad. Did you vote for Bernie to disrupt, or did you vote for Bernie because you want the policy Medicare for all?
Okay. Go back to the year about 1800 when the Electoral College could not pick a president.
Yes.
And it was between Aaron Burr and Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
And ultimately, Thomas Jefferson's nemesis, Alexander Hamilton, voted for Jefferson because he said he knew where Jefferson stood. He did not know where Aaron Burr stood.
Wow.
I know where Bernie stands.
Wow.
Okay? Biden has changed his position, okay? Bloomberg is changing his position, okay? I know where Bernie stands, and I know that there's lots of things that Bernie wants, that this is not a dictatorship, and he can't do it by executive order. He's going to have to get the House and the Senate.
Brad,
support,
my smart conservative. Brad, let me ask you the most important question. What are you doing if he were to make it in the final in November? What would you do?
I'm going to vote for him because he's not Donald Trump. Donald Trump, the reason I did not vote for Clinton and Hillary and Bill Because I like Bill, in 1996. I could have voted for him, but he was just an habitual liar.
Okay, folks. Hey, Brad, I got to let you go because my lines are full, but I want to let folks understand that you're a real conservative. And listen to what that conservative just said, folks. Thank you so kindly for calling, Brad.
One last thing. Apparently, you actually met Bernie, correct?
Yes, I have.
Could you tell him to lighten up? Because
I
have a friend who voted for Biden, and she's a black woman who voted for Biden. She said, Bernie's just too serious all the time.
You know what? He's
a New York Jew. It's genetically possible for him to tell jokes. He can be a funny guy.
Hey, Brad.
Tell jokes.
Hold on a second. Brad, check this out. I spoke to Nina Turner in Nevada 2 weeks ago, and I said, hey, I got two things I want to tell you. And believe it or not, that was one of them. Have a good one, Brad.
You too. Bye-bye.
Take care, buddy. All right, folks, let's go. Línea número uno. Come on in, line one.
Hey, good day, Alberto.
Talk to me, sir.
3 quick points I want to make.
Yes.
The previous 2 callers that were on point, and the one before him, where critical thinking and independent thinking is lacking of most Americans right now.
Yes.
I came to this country from Panama in 1980.
Oh, you're my brother.
Yes, sir. I attended college at the Academy of Aeronautics.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to become an airplane mechanic, to put it real blunt. Tuition was so high. I got financial aid, but still tuition was so high that I had to drop out.
Right.
I had to drop out.
Right.
And I had to settle to become an electrician.
Right.
Thank God for that. Still good. And the second thing is that Medicare for all is a help to the country.
Yes.
Because I was paying close to $700 a month in premium for a family of 3.
Right.
And there was a procedure that was needed to be done, and it costed close to $300, and they said that this is not covered.
Right.
So I'm looking like, okay, I'm paying this premium to get health insurance, but yet still I'm limited as to what is covering, and I'm paying $700 in premium per month.
Every month,
what's
nonstop.
good for me to have affordable care when it's really not affordable?
There you go. You know something? And these are the stories that we try to get, my brother. These are the stories we try to get out there. Because your story is repeated millions of times every day in America. But somehow the plutocracy have people believing that this is their only choice. Now, when we make that choice available, when you go out there, and by the way, hey, what was your name again? Roberto, tú me has llamado anteriormente, hombre.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Very
Okay. Anyway, Roberto, let me tell you something, okay? Think about this. If people really thought this stuff could come to fruition, the avalanche would open. So what we have to do, you as a voter, I hope you voted already, Roberto.
Oh, I'm on my way there.
All right, good for you. Good. Hey, and everybody follow Roberto. You see that car on the freeway going to vote? Follow him. He knows that black Suburban. Go ahead and go vote. Anyhow, thank you so kindly for calling, Roberto.
You're welcome, Roberto.
You have a great day. All right, folks. Línea número 2, line number 2. Come on in.
Hey, Roberto, this is Stephen Morat, information activist.
Hey, Stephen, talk to me, my brother.
Bro, I didn't hear your opening, but from the gist of it, apparently you addressed the madness that is going on in with the DNC heavy-handed
yes
full tilt on the scales against Bernie again.
Yes.
And sadly, let me just say this, Robert. When you say we just need to beat Trump, if that's the highest hurdle that we need to go, then I'll stay at home.
You know something? I am so happy you said that.
I'm sorry.
What's your name again?
That weigh upon me as a poor man aren't even being addressed by either party.
Thank you. Stephen.
They speaking to the middle class, and I'm clearly poor and impoverished.
Hey, hold on a second, Stephen. Let me tell you something. You have just said one of the smartest things in this call, and I've had a lot of smart people call this show this day already. But when you said, if your answer is we just need to get Trump out of there, that is number 1, selfish, and number 2, not understanding the reason that Trump is there in the first place. So you have hit the nail on the head. The country is looking for solutions, and Trump kind of gave them the idea that somehow he had the answers. And until a viable person comes along to America and say, we are going to make your life better, there's no reason to change him. And if they think that is Biden, they're sadly mistaken, because status quo is not what Americans are looking for. Maybe that's what a lot of centrists are looking for, but centrists themselves, when they are in the position of my brother Roberto from Panama, when that happens to them, when they have a daughter that has gotten a stroke and seen a $72,000 bill for 3 days in an ICU, when they see that they've gotten a family member who dies of a stroke and have a hospital that continues to bill for a dead person, they'll understand the thievery of this country, of the private sector in this country.
Okay, when you understand, first of all, we don't listen to understand clearly.
Yes.
Because we keep voting emotion versus practical and reason execution of what is in our best interest.
Yes.
We continuously shoot ourselves in the foot.
Right.
You know, and I mean.
Hey, Stephen.
And most people.
Stephen, look, I think, Stephen, you've made the most important point already, and I got a couple more callers I got to get. So I appreciate your call, and you keep calling, my brother. You take care now. All right, bye-bye. All right, let's go. Line number 3, come on in.
Hi there, this is Tori.
Tori, talk to me, brother. Nice seeing you at the 50-year thing, man.
Oh, yeah, happy birthday, KPFT.
Absolutely.
Anyway, there's a lot of heat and smoke going on right now, a lot of emotional stuff during this political season, and I've lost friends over the past 5-6 years, just because I'm very passionate about political stuff, and it's just not worth losing friends and family and, nice coworker relations over. And so I always go back to my training as a historian, social scientist, and when we were writing at the academic level,
I'm sorry to tell you this. Hold on. I'm sorry to tell you this. Tori, I'm sorry to tell you this. But quicken it up for me to do it in 45 seconds because I got to go.
When writing about social science stuff, basically we want to take the emotional stuff out of it. And so when this next season, they're talking about socialism versus this and that, it all boils down to private versus public ownership. Public schools versus private schools, public health care versus private health care. And, we can take a lot of the heat out if we just eliminate these words like socialism. And that's going to be used because it's going to be used as a weapon against progressives. And so we need, and you notice that Bernie doesn't talk about socialism unless they bring it up. On it. And so we need to take a lesson from Bernie and all the social scientists. Stop even talking about socialism.
Tori, that's why
public this and that,
brother. That's why we always talk to you, brother. Thank you for bringing those words of wisdom. Okay, brother.
You bet. See ya.
Take care, brother. All right, last call, line 6. You got about a minute and a half. Go ahead.
Hi.
Yes.
My name is Sal. It's a very quick question.
Yes.
I got this flyer in the mail from the Texas Progressive Executive Council.
Uh-huh.
Is that legit?
The truth of the matter is I have never heard of it. And what I'm going to tell you, sir, is stay with your sources of information. Believe nothing you get in the mail. Believe nothing that comes on air. Go to trusted places. You can always come to Politics Done Right. You can always go to kpft.org. You can go to trusted places right now because there's a lot of trickery that's going on right now. So what I ask people, all of you all over the country, please be careful with the things that look authentic because there's a lot of trickery going on, and it's not only coming from Russia, it's coming from right here locally.
So if the first two people they nominate or they suggest is Kimog and Ed Gonzalez, does that tell you enough to tell you if it's legit or not?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't tell me enough. I'll tell you something. Don't allow somebody to push your vote. You go look for your vote. You look for your vote. Look for who you are going to vote for and not who somebody is suggesting vote for you. Now, if you have a good friend and you're not aware of somebody or whatever, there are certain things that I don't know in some of the local elections, and I have trusted friends, and I'll call and I say, hey, what do you think about this person, or who do you think I should vote for and why? But I am not going to take all these push cards that come because they're so nefarious. So that's my answer for that, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you so kindly.
I love your show, by the way.
Thank you so kindly, sir, and you have a wonderful day, okay?
And that Boo show, too, Generation Radio.
Oh, it's the bomb. Like I tell these guys all the time, they're the bomb. Thank you so kindly, sir.
All right.
Bye-bye. All right, I want to acknowledge my brothers and sisters on the web. We had hundreds of messages today. In fact, I just got a notice that says, hey, you've passed the 100 message, and then it's going to the next now. So let me call you guys out, and thank you guys for being here. Rose William, thank you. Deborah Ann Borgen, thank you. Rose, let's see. We have Michael Rudnin. We have Damon Boss. We have Kathleen Morgan. We have Lee Grant. We have, and look, I got a bunch of my conservatives and progressives in here. Lawrence Sim. I never know where you are exactly, Lawrence. I kind of think you're progressive, but you kind of hide behind it. Let's see. With William Shriver, IRHP Dinero Para Nada. Let's see who else is here. If I miss you, forgive me. Ron Dickerson. We have, let's see, William Shriver. We also have Lou Univ. Thank you for being here. New to golf. Are you really new to golf? That's the question. Daniel Lado, my favorite conservative that generally gives me a hell of a hard time, but I still love you, brother. Let's see who else is here. Wow. Okay. So anyhow, folks, Tasha Johnson. Don't think I've seen you before either. We've got a lot of newbies here. Thank you guys for being here. Okay. Anyhow, if I missed you, Delphine Chimbacala, thank you for being here again. And I love your message. Hi, Egberto, it doesn't look so good. And she's overseas. Hi, Egberto, it doesn't look so good for us, for the U.S., and for the world, but you're a positive guy. Thank you so kindly. I know you're personally disgusted, my friend, but, thank you for being here. Thank you for always being here. Folks, look, we're going to be closing down this baby in a little bit. Go out there and vote. You still have the time. Progressives, go out there and be heard. We don't have time to be scared. We don't have time to be worried. We don't have time to be concerned. What we have time to be is empowered, and you are all empowered. We still have one person, one vote in this country. Still, until that time is gone, we still have that time. We need to make sure it stays that way, people. We need to make sure. So please, if you're hearing my voice, whether you're in Texas, California, Massachusetts, Florida, Georgia, Arkansas, I'm just naming people from different places that are here on the website. Please go ahead. Do your job, please. We can't sit back and say, look at what they done to us. We can't say that anymore. We have the power to make the change. We have the power not to follow what the plutocracy is telling us to do. We have the power not to let them tell us it's a two-persons race. We have the power not to tell us the only person that can beat the person we don't like is Biden. We have the power not to have to look at something we know is a failure and have to go with it because they're telling us it's a must. Don't. You have the power. You have the power. Every single one of you, with your vote, you have the power. And let me tell you, it's no joke. So please go out there and do your job. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And guess how we end this, baby? I am what? Out!
Changes to the Pacifica Foundation bylaws have been proposed and may now be found on the Foundation's website at www.pacifica.org for a review.